dogs specifically, because one of the most beautiful animals that you can keep as a companion is a dog. And I myself used to have a dog, so I know what it feels like and how a dog, if it is properly trained, can really be a splendid companion, how you can become attached to that companion, and what exactly is the benefit of that companionship that you derive for your own self. Here it needs to be understood that look what the Quran has said. You see, the first instance, or the first I would say sentiment that we are transferred from our parents is that dogs, they are impure, napak hain, they are believed, they should not come near you, they should not touch you, because their saliva, when it touches you, it breaks your wuzu, it makes your clothes impure. But look what the Quran has said. The Quran is saying an entirely different thing. It says that you can let loose these dogs on prey that you hunt. If they go and they just catch your prey, pounce upon that prey, you don't even need to slaughter that prey, because the teeth of the dog could be considered, or are considered to be that very knife which is going to kill that or slaughter that prey if the blood all oozes out. The only thing is that you must release that dog by saying Bismillah Allahu Akbar, which means you have dog's permission to hunt that animal. So if the saliva of a dog was impure, you can just imagine how could the Quran have said that you can release a dog who could run all the way, catch the prey, and therefore if that all the blood of the animal dies as a result of the wound inflicted by the dog, you don't need to slaughter it by a knife. This is what the Quran says, and it actually uses a word which tells us that this is one of the pieces of knowledge which God has taught you. Mukallibin is the word which the Quran tells us. So the first thing is that as far as this impurity thing is concerned, that dogs are impure, I think this has to be done away with. And in a manner we have been treating dogs very badly, because we think that maybe a cat is much more pure, or some other animal is much more pure, but as far as the dog is concerned, he should be kept, or she should be kept far away from us, because his or her saliva is something which is going to make us impure. Now, the second thing is that there are certain narratives of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ which say, for example, one of them says that that angels do not trespass, that angels do not come into houses in which dogs are kept. Now you see, as far as these narratives are concerned, first of all, if you gather all the narratives of this topic, you'll find out that there was a dog in the times of the Prophet who would often frequent his house and come beneath his bed and would lie there, and he would actually eject, and he would dirty the place by by secreting and by his excretions, and the Prophet would not know that. And it was on such occasions that he was being told that untrained dogs who are not even potty trained, who just do whatever they like, under the bed, and you don't even get to know what's been done. If this is the case, then angels are not going to come into the house, because this is something very, very, they are very sensitive to such things. Even maybe when we find a dog dirtying the place with all sorts of things, especially if he's not potty trained, we would not like to go into that house, and angels have a superior sensitivity towards that. So it is very important that you study the narratives with all their details. So we have done that study. You can read about that study in detail. I can send it over to you. At the moment, it's in the Urdu language. For those of you who can read in Urdu, I can send it over to you, because all these narratives, they have a context. They are not absolute narratives which tell us that any angel is not going to go there. All it says is that angels would not enter those houses which keep untrained dogs. And the other thing which is also important from these narratives is that when the Prophet got to know that this was a dog, it was actually a puppy who would come frequently and lie beneath his bed, he actually washed that place through a lot of water, so that it could just do away with whatever that puppy had done. So that is the first thing. The second thing in this regard that needs to be understood is that there is another narrative which tells us that there was a dog who had actually eaten from a utensil found within the house. And the Prophet, when he came to know it, he actually advised that that utensil should not only be washed, it should also be cleaned by mud and washed 7 times, as if implying the fact that a dog is impure, because what's the need of washing it so thoroughly by mud and by water so many times? Now, if we gather all these narratives once again, we'll find out that that particular dog was in fact inflicted by rabies and by some other diseases, which of course were contagious, and human beings could contract those diseases. So therefore, this second narrative, which is often quoted against keeping dogs, is that because they are impure, and the Prophet actually washed that utensil so many times, it tells us that their tongue and their saliva is impure. Again, has a context. It does not relate to all dogs. It relates to a dog who was diseased, who was sick, and he, in all probability, had what we today call rabies. And in those times, of course, we never knew what rabies was, but we knew the signs, what a rabid dog is. And then there is a third type of narrative, or a class of narratives, which say that you must kill all the dogs that come, especially these black dogs. This is again something that is found in some narratives. Now again, if you analyze all these narratives, you'll find that they speak of certain stray dogs who were causing nuisance in Medina. They would not have doors the way we have today. They will just have curtains in those times, which separated a house or a room in the house, and you just could enter the door of any house. So these dogs would just come in and they would cause nuisance, and the Prophet said you just kill these dogs, just as any administrator of maybe a city or a town would say that because they are causing nuisance, so you have them killed. So these are some of the narratives. I've not covered all of them. So there are some others as well which have a similar meaning, but if you would like more details, I can provide them to you. But in a nutshell, what I wanted to dispel was that keeping a dog is absolutely the same as keeping a cat. There's nothing different. The only thing is that you must train a dog to be a decent individual when he's living in a house, and not do all sorts of things the way we just found out. So if we are able to do this, if we are able to make this, then keeping a dog within the house, outside the house, as a pet, as a guardian, as a security. For example, in the West, we have these shepherd dogs, we have these companion dogs which live in the house with old people, and they are really, really helpful for them. They take them for walks. I have seen myself a certain dog who was helping an 80-year-old widow living alone in an apartment. He would go and fetch certain items. When the lady would say, okay, get me that, he would go and get that particular thing from the house. So these are shepherd dogs, these are companion dogs, which would really make your life very easy if you do that, if you have them as pets and in old age. And even if you're not in an old age, in a young age, if you want to keep dogs, there is nothing as far as the Sharia is concerned which prohibits dogs. And just keep this bottom line in your mind, that if it had been impure, the Quran would never had asked for these hunting dogs to just be let loose on the prey and hunt the prey, and their teeth would be piercing the meat of that prey. And the Quran is telling us that even if the blood goes, it drains out, then consider yourself that the teeth of that dog have acted as a knife, as a slaughter knife, which has slaughtered the dog, and obviously the saliva would have been sticking, would have touched the body and the meat of the prey, which of course tells us that there's no such thing as an impure saliva of a dog. So as far as keeping dogs is concerned, I think we should vindicate these poor individuals that we have been treating or mistreating at times, and not realizing the fact that there is nothing against these dogs in the Sharia. I'm sure that many of us might not be even aware of this information that I've just given you, but this information was given to you so that you can maybe not argue, but reason out with your parents to tell them that there is absolutely nothing wrong if a dog is properly trained, if he is kept as a pet in a very, very polite way, in a very, very loving manner. I would encourage you to do so. Of course, it has to be in a way that your parents don't feel uncomfortable, but if they have any religious reason, they could have some other reason which you can maybe talk to them. But if they have any religious reason that dogs are not allowed, I think that you can convince them and tell them that this is a grave misconception.